SummerSlam in Cleveland is almost here. Full predictions coming up.
AEW Blood and Guts. We talk about it.
It's time to roll around the ring. I said it last week. It feels like we just watched WrestleMania like maybe a month or two ago, and now SummerSlam in Cleveland coming up this upcoming weekend. Cleveland Browns Stadium. Look, outdoor stadium in Ohio. I haven't checked the weather, but man, it's risky.
They could have just come back to Detroit.
They could have because we have a dome. It's risky business. That's why Minnesota didn't get WrestleMania. So we'll see. There are talks of London and WrestleMania. So, like, you know, it's risky, though, when you're an outdoor stadium. And
yeah, especially in London.
I know, right? I mean,
which,
Cleveland,
admittedly,
Ohio,
I know very little about their weather and their weather patterns, so I'm going to just stop right there. But
people in London are like, we've been begging for WrestleMania forever. Shut up.
Yeah, they're like, you've never even been here, so shut your mouth.
Ohio,
Sorry,
though.
London.
Ohio, because we're in Michigan, we know, like, it's hit or miss, even in the summer, right? Like, we could get
their weather
rained
or
out.
Ohio as a state?
I mean, both.
Okay.
To be fair.
Said it.
To be fair.
He said it.
SummerSlam coming up next weekend. Let's run down the match card that we have as of this moment, right? We are recording this ahead of the final two shows.
Yep.
I mean, Triple H has had smaller cards for his PLEs, and we already at 7 matches. I doubt we might get one more. I don't think more than one is coming up, though. Solo Sikoa, Cody Rhodes, we've talked about this in the past. Cody said specifically it is the main event.
Yeah.
That leads us to believe, because I don't think anyone expects Cody to drop the title to Solo, of all people, right now at least. But that leads us to believe that we could have something bigger coming up. What that bigger thing is to end SummerSlam, the number one option is Roman Reigns. In your mind, Roman Reigns return. We have a Jimmy Uso who is still out. If you go on the Cody side of things, Randy Orton has been out of commission, right? And people are waiting for that heel turn to happen. Do we get a Randy Orton comeback and maybe against the Cody Rhodes? Hell, Kevin Owens is out as well, by the way. He got taken out. Maybe that's the same type of option. Of those options, or any combination of them, what do you think is most likely to take place to end SummerSlam?
Randy Orton?
Randy Orton?
Yeah.
Coming back now against Cody.
Well, he's not going to help Solo win, but it could be after the match. Let's say Cody wins.
Right.
But at that point, if Cody wins, then so I'm going to talk myself out of my own prediction.
Sure, go ahead. That's what we do.
Yeah, right. If Cody wins and Randy comes back after the fact, you're pretty much telegraphing he's going to turn on him. Because why would he just show up after the match? So I guess I will have to give a little more credence to what you said last time around. This is where Roman should return.
It is.
But I still stay stuck on why would he come out?
Right. And my thing that I'm stuck on when it comes to Roman returning actually has nothing to do with why, because you and I talked about that. I think the why is there. I do agree that Paul Heyman being taken out, that's when it should have happened. Maybe they should have waited to do that until SummerSlam, and then Roman comes and breaks it up. My main thing that's holding me up is Jimmy Uso.
Right.
We have not seen Jimmy Uso, and it feels as if he should be back before Roman, right? Roman should be the headline return of this feud, because everyone's got this whole fantasy booking of War Games. Either way, you got a crew of 4 for this new bloodline. So however you shake it, we need a crew of 4 when it comes to what we're assuming is the OG bloodline. Roman should be the last of those, or one of, to be included in that faction, right?
Right.
So Jimmy returning after Roman, whether it's the same night or in the future, that's the one thing that actually has me held up, that Roman may not return. I don't think we get a Randy Orton turn at SummerSlam. I think it's right after SummerSlam, just because I think the focus is on the Bloodline story going into SummerSlam. Solo has ended SmackDown 2 straight weeks, right? Even this past week when he wasn't even, like, his story wasn't even involved in the main event. And they cut right back to his backstage segment. And he's ending SmackDown. This is the headline story, right? Cody's title run feels secondary in this story, which could lead to a surprise with Orton. But when you're telling one story that is dominant going into a big pay-per-view like this, you have to finish with it, right?
Yeah. So in what you're saying right now, you're kind of leading me to think that it would make a lot more sense Jimmy Uso returning, helping Cody win.
Okay.
That actually makes more sense than Roman coming back for anything at the end of SummerSlam.
Whatever return happens, I don't think it's to help Cody win. I think Cody wins clean.
Right.
He might get help from like a Randy Orton or Kevin Owens, but I think a bloodline return, whether it's Jimmy Uso or Roman, happens post-match. Because I do agree, I don't envision them helping Cody win, but I can see them stopping a beatdown on Cody, not necessarily to save Cody, but to stop what Solo thinks he's doing and being the tribal chief.
Or you could actually book it to be a thing where Jimmy kind of screws over Solo in the way Solo screwed over Cody.
Right.
What I think is if Jimmy coming,
tape his thumb.
Why not? Let's go all in with it, man. No, my thing is Jimmy returning to it's to screw over Solo.
Right.
And Solo's big moment to really like crown himself officially champion tribal chief. Jimmy coming back, it's not because I'm here to help. It's the same thing with Roman. Roman wouldn't come back to help Cody.
Right.
Roman comes back because all of this bloodline business exists outside of Cody Rhodes. Whatever Cody Rhodes is doing, you can take Cody Rhodes and put him off against Orton. The bloodline thing still can happen with Roman coming back. It's still going to be impactful. It's still going to be the biggest thing on the show.
Right.
It's going to overshadow, to an extent, Cody and Orton.
Right.
But I think Jimmy coming back, Jimmy basically will serve as the one to kick the door open.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that happening. If anything, I think both could happen. I think Roman has to return
on the same night. Both guys.
I think Roman's return has to happen at SummerSlam because this is we've said it before, we expect him back before Survivor Series. The only other stadium show before Survivor Series is in Berlin. I don't know that they do that there. I think Gunther and that whole story is going to headline that show.
Right.
This is the last show that I think the Bloodline story is going to headline in a stadium like that. I think Jimmy Uso comes out first, and then he starts to get outnumbered, and that's when a Roman return happens. I don't know if Jey Uso gets in right away. I think in the long run he'll be involved. I mean, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn were teaming up on Raw, and I think that is a little hint of what we could see in the future, right? But I think those two, storyline-wise, will need to be convinced to get involved, right? I don't think... First of all, they're on a whole nother show. They have their own things going on, right? But I think it makes sense to have those two need to be convinced. So I don't know if Jey or Sami get involved, but I think Roman comes out after Jimmy. Jimmy starts getting beaten down, and Roman comes and saves him. So he's not necessarily saving Cody, he's saving Jimmy.
No, at that point, Cody had already won the match. He's completely out of the picture now. He can walk backstage, whatever.
Right.
Because the whole focus of that happens, you have to basically clear the ring for Roman.
Yes.
More or less.
Yes.
Or fill the ring up with opposition for Roman.
Right.
It could be booked that way too. That'd be entertaining.
One thing I was so... I could not believe they did this. I do not understand why they went this route with Solo at the end of SmackDown. Why is Solo going out of his way calling out Roman Reigns?
I don't know.
They end SmackDown that he has no reason to.
No.
Right? There has been... Roman is not like... It's not like he's active on social media or anywhere else talking shit about Solo. The only Roman connection is our fantasy booking and the crowd, right? Chanting, "We want Roman." Right? The Paul Heyman thing was in there as well because Paul Heyman was so dedicated to Roman. But there is no beef between Solo and Roman. Right?
No.
Solo even said, lies or not, to Paul Heyman a few weeks ago, yeah, I've talked to Roman. Right?
Right.
So why are you now calling out Roman? That is either one of two things. That's either forcing the issue way too much. Like, we know it's a thing. Let it be natural. Let the surprise happen naturally. Or that's them trying to tease us into assuming it's going to happen just to swerve us, and it doesn't happen.
And that's where I say you could probably end up with Jimmy.
Right. And that's why I don't like why is Solo going out of his way to call... Like, well, that makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense because Solo, up until this point, has kind of been... Until he had everyone acknowledge him as tribal chief, he was kind of serving as like... Well, Roman's the tribal chief. He's just not here right now.
Yes.
So I'm handling things while he's gone. And it turned into, now I'm the tribal chief, and which turned into, okay, screw Roman. It's like, well, where's that coming from, though?
Yeah, because the Solo angle has been basically, Roman supports this.
Kind of makes Solo look weak.
Yes. And again, it's forcing the issue because, and it's also going out of, like, connection of what you're telling me the story is because Solo's trying to convince everyone Roman's with this. And now he's randomly calling out Roman. And again, there was nothing to provoke him to call out Roman. And now, again, you're just either forcing the issue for SummerSlam or you're purposely trying to swerve us And I think it's the first one more likely than the second, right? But either way, that wasn't necessary. He can continue to just say, acknowledge me, continue to just be the tribal chief, and Roman can come out naturally. The story is already naturally there. You don't need to force it. And that's what they're doing with Solo calling him out. You got Cody winning this, though?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes has to hold the title here. Solo Sikoa, again, we said it. The main event is what it is because of the story with the bloodline. It has nothing to do with Cody's title reign, which is crazy to say, but in this whole thing going into SummerSlam, it's kind of secondary.
But you have to have, to your point, and to a lot of people's point, you have to end SummerSlam with some sort of important trajectory for Solo.
Right. Because
we've spent a lot of time on this version of the bloodline, and if it's just for him to get beat clean and then the show ends,
right,
what have we really accomplished?
Right. I do think a Randy Orton turn happens like within 2 weeks after SummerSlam.
Could happen on SmackDown.
I think that's a fall storyline, honestly, for the rest of 2024.
I'm with it.
CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, one-on-one.
Finally.
Seth Rollins, instead of it being a triple threat, will be the special guest referee.
I'm very interested to see what his referee outfit looks like.
A lot of people reference Shawn Michaels.
I don't think we're getting that.
I think we get a version of that.
Shawn Michaels had the biker shorts and the referee. I don't know,
right.
but I don't know. I don't know. Seth Rollins is gonna have them all bedazzled or something. But yeah.
How do you feel about them not inserting Seth into this match? I mean, he just had a match at Money in the Bank, so we're assuming he can go. We haven't seen him in the ring since.
Yeah.
So they may still be, cautious.
There might have been something after his Money in the Bank match where they're like, oh, it still doesn't feel right. Let's give you a little more time, but let's keep you in the mix.
Yeah.
Because he's an integral part of this storyline, as a bridge between the two. I'm cool with it. I think you have to feature. He's one of your biggest stars on your roster. You have to feature him on the card somehow.
Yeah.
He's in a high profile match. This is probably outside of what's going on with Liv, Dom, and Rhea on Raw. This is like the biggest thing on Raw.
Right.
So he's involved. Why would you leave him off the card at all? You got to get him in there.
I think it would have made more sense to have Dom be the special ref of Liv and Rhea than this ref.
Dominic on a pole match.
Dominic on a pole match.
Hanging up there.
There's comments there. When it comes to this though, like I'm gonna say if Seth is healthy and could go, I don't like this. I don't.
Really?
I think the way they've told the story thus far. I mean, again, this is a huge show, and to have someone like Seth, if he is healthy, spending his time being a ref rather than in a match. If you wanted Punk and Drew one-on-one, which I understand, because we even mentioned a couple weeks ago, for either one, the one-on-one match should happen before a triple threat. And the same thing goes for Seth and Punk.
Right.
So, and that frame of thinking, then, okay, I get it. But with the way they've told the story, they haven't given Seth anything else going into SummerSlam. Seth and Drew, Seth and Punk, they're all going at each other. It is creative. I do appreciate it. And if it's a health thing to keep Seth, away from the ring a little longer to continue to get healthy, I'm all for it. I am just saying, if he is healthy and ready to go, this match, you have to give it. Because I think you can get away with giving us the triple threat before the one-on-ones when Drew and Punk are in Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood, which I think should happen, and when Seth and Punk headline WrestleMania next year. I think those two are big enough matches for us to forgive you giving us the triple threat first. And I think enough happens within a triple threat match that the one-on-ones are still going to feel different and feel that much more special.
I'm not really that much against it. You referenced Shawn Michaels in the 90s, the referee match SummerSlam of 97.
Yeah.
He was healthy and ready to go then. But him being the referee in that match served to a bigger point, obviously, is well-documented feud with Bret Hart, but also at that time and place with The Undertaker. So it was the feud that he already had existing with Bret Hart and the feud that he was going to be entering with The Undertaker. I think with Seth Rollins now, you kind of see him in that space. There's an existing feud with Drew. He has bad blood with CM Punk. We haven't really got officially to that feud yet.
Yeah.
I think this is where you start to build that.
I think what stops Seth from being in this match is there really isn't much of a feud with Drew.
Mm-hmm.
The feud is with Punk. Like, Seth and Drew had their match at Mania. Nothing happened with that match. Seth gave his respect, right, to, when Drew won, right? He got his shot at Priest for the world title. There really is no beef between Seth and Drew. And again, If it's not that Seth's not healthy and if it's something else, I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
because the feud is mainly with Punk. I think if it was even animosity between each pairing in that triple threat, then you could have gone away with a triple threat. But because there's just enough with Drew, but not much, there's a lot with Punk, and we've been telling this Punk Drew story. We said it before. We needed one-on-one before we got a triple threat. We needed to have that. With as much as they've been giving us the Punk Drew story, you can't insert a third. That's why I was surprised that they even inserted Seth into the story to begin with.
I think he's relevant to it. You got to keep him in there.
I agree. I just think you could have gone something else for SummerSlam. I really do. Again, if he's not healthy, then okay. I get it. This is a very creative, smart way to get around that and still have him on the show. If he is healthy, I would rather Seth either be in this match or have a whole nother angle with someone else for SummerSlam.
I think it serves the purpose. I'm okay with it.
How's it go though? See?
So, man, there's so many shades of SummerSlam '97 here. Do we have Seth Rollins do when Shawn Michaels had to count that 3 count, staring into the face of Bret Hart for him to win the championship?
Yeah.
Do we now have Seth Rollins replay that, having to count the 1, 2, 3, staring face to face for CM Punk at CM Punk, counting the victory for CM Punk?
Sure.
It's because that's your feud going forward.
I think Drew and Punk end up in Hell in a Cell. I do. I think
it's worthy of it.
It is. A triple threat is probably on the way at some point.
Hell in a Cell triple threat, or are you thinking one-on-one?
No, I think one-on-one needs to be inside Hell in a Cell. I think triple threat is a separate thing. And I think when it comes to this angle, you have to, even if it's accidental, I think Seth accidentally screws Drew here. And I say accidental not because he likes Drew, but because he doesn't want to help Punk. I think that adds to the Drew McIntyre's getting screwed over angle. That gives us more animosity between Drew and Seth. And I think Drew goes over. And I also think Punk should get the win. This is his first one-on-one match in WWE in how long? We're not talking enough about that, by the way. He only was in the Royal Rumble match.
That's
he had
true.
He had a live event.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had a one-on-one match on TV at all.
And I was leaning towards Drew having to win this one just for some kind of retribution for his character. But you just kind of nailed it in the sense of you kind of do have to continue to pile on. One, because you can't have CM Punk come back to this long. I mean, you could, but this long-awaited return match of his, and then he loses it clean or however. You kind of want to have him be victorious here. Yeah. But again, the story's going to go as the story goes. If it makes more sense for him to lose,
I think Seth accidentally screwing Drew sets up a triple threat, and it can also set up Drew going over on Punk inside Hell in a Cell.
A lot of possibilities, man.
So I think Punk gets the win here. There's going to be tons of crazy shenanigans.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Punk picks up the win on this one.
All right, world title match, Damian Priest and Gunther. We've talked about this in the last couple weeks as well. Right after SummerSlam, at least a few weeks after, we're in Berlin for another PLE. How much do you think that big show affects Gunther's chances to actually walk out as champion here?
I almost feel like it's a no-brainer in the sense of you want him to be champion going into that show.
Right.
You could have him challenging for the title again and win it there. I really feel like they're hitting some kind of stride with Priest, and I don't know if this is the time to just take the title off him.
Right.
Because then it's like, now that you put it on Gunther, how long does he hold it? We saw how dominant he was with the IC title. Do you just repeat that again? Because then, like we talked about before, you have to be careful with that because we don't want him to fall into this like Roman Reigns situation where he beats everyone on the roster and nobody can beat him, and you know.
Right, and I think you hit it right. Like Damian Priest has been red hot. Yeah. There's no reason to his story has been red hot. There's been no reason to take that title off of him, and there's been no reason to give Gunther that title. Gunther hasn't done much since winning King of the Ring. And
he just kind of shows up and talks shit now,
right.
which is great for the character. But
don't get me wrong, Gunther has done a lot in his career to be like, his accolades are this, and this, and I get it. But when it comes to putting the title on him right now and taking it off Priest, I don't want to think about it in that way when it comes to where the next PLE is. We have to give it to him. Look what that did in Scotland, right? Yeah. Like the women's tag titles, no offense to Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, they had no business taking those titles off Bianca and Jade.
What have they done since?
They've done nothing since, right? They've been staying away from it. They haven't even wrestled, let alone defend their titles. So it's like, but you did because we're in Scotland. I don't think that way. I don't want to think that way. Not for big shows, not for big decisions like this. those fans are going to be happy seeing Gunther, right? Because when's the last time they had a pay-per-view? Never,
It's been
right?
Never.
So, like, you're just going to get the opportunity to see Gunther in a huge match on a PLE Live. That's enough. And there's other things he can do going into that show.
Yeah.
You can put him over in a big non-title match with someone else, right? I don't put the title on Gunther here. I don't care where that next PLE is. There is no reason to take that title off Priest. The Judgment Day story is still going strong. And Gunther would have to win clean. Because what happens, right? What happens to help Gunther win?
Was it Finn Balor and JD?
Right? And it's like, okay, but if you want to break up the Judgment Day, which a lot of people are talking about, Priest and Finn, that feud will need a world title.
Yeah.
That feud would need a world title.
It would. Yeah, it would.
And so taking that title off Priest would automatically make that storyline feel a little less important. So I don't know if you want Gunther losing clean or not. I think the Judgment Day may help, because the Judgment Day helping would add to the breakup of the Judgment Day, because Priest does not want them helping.
So you think they help him win?
Yes.
Which serves more to him saying, hey, I don't need you out there. I've told you a million
Over
times
and over again.
And also serves to Gunther being like, you didn't beat me.
Yes.
Because your guys had to come out and help out.
And my worry with that is, now that we say that, is the rematch happens in Berlin, they headline the show, and then that's where Gunther could win.
Which actually I wouldn't get mad about if SummerSlam goes down that way.
Yes. Because it
would make sense at that point, because you could then have time to have Priest, the whole like fallout that we're seeing happen here can start to really kind of like culminate at the show in Berlin. And then it's like, okay, this is where they do the turn, or, Finn Balor does a turn. However, like that's what solidifies, Gunther winning the title there.
Yeah. And I think Priest getting a win like this, no matter how it happens, against someone like Gunther on a big show like SummerSlam, now he's holding the title till almost September. Yeah. At that point, you're talking about a 5-month reign. Solid. Yep. I'd be more okay with Gunther winning in Berlin rather than here at SummerSlam. I don't think there's any chance Gunther wins at SummerSlam. I really don't.
If he wins in Berlin, I think he probably takes that title close to Mania or to Mania.
And I think that's fair. I think that
it's
title
not so bad
up,
once you get towards your end of the year shows, because it doesn't really. You have enough time to have some pretty good contenders, but you know that ultimately WrestleMania is where you can make a change.
Yeah, but that title probably needs to end up back in that Seth Punk Drew story by Mania.
Is Gunther part of a triple threat?
Or is Gunther part of the Fatal 4-Way?
Ah.
Right?
A lot of options.
There's a lot of options, especially because also...
But it's good options to have, though.
But it's great options to have, and also remember that Triple H really puts a lot of effort into the other big pay-per-views, right?
Right.
He may give us Punk and Seth at Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah.
And then by Mania, the world title could be a Fatal 4-Way with Drew, Punk, Seth, and Gunther, right?
Could be. I'm not sure how much I'd like that for Mania, but if the story makes sense,
I mean, all three of them at some point have talked about wanting to be world champion.
True.
And I also think Punk wins the Royal Rumble this year.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I think Punk wins the Rumble this year to set up either a one-on-one with Seth, if Seth's champion by Mania, or it would automatically start the process to get us to what could be a triple threat or fatal
four-way. I feel like
you
have to say that now since MJF broke your predictions and
okay. Look, that's bad on MJF. So we got Priest retaining here.
I do. Yes.
Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, the other world title. Speaking of the Judgment Day, how'd you feel about Dom Mysterio going off on Liv Morgan on Raw?
There's something brewing there, man.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as straightforward as they're trying to present it, and I feel like a lot of, you hear a lot of the buzz online. People are like, something's up here, and I feel that something's gonna happen. I think we're getting a swerve here somewhere.
Shout out to the camera angles. Number one, that was awesome. Rather than trying to go back and forth, to put them split screen like that. Yeah. That added to the segment. It made it easier to follow. Liv's acting was incredible. That was perfect.
Everybody's been on fire with that. Yeah.
Everyone's been spot on with that, but this is screaming that Liv and Dom are setting up Rhea.
I'm telling you.
They are setting her up so bad.
It's just, and if it doesn't happen, everyone's gonna be like, wow, that's like the whole missed. There's soap opera-esque thing to this storyline.
There's no way those two, Dom and Rhea.
Because it's too cut and dry.
Yes.
Oh, she's back now. Now I'm going to just align back with you and hate this other. Like, nah, something's up.
There's no way those two stay together after SummerSlam. Dom's going to screw Rhea here.
So we're predicting a Liv
wins.
I predict that too.
And that was awesome by Dom, awesome by everybody.
And then we're gonna get the big Liv Dom kiss.
Yeah, and that's the
for
thing.
Everybody, yeah.
And that's the thing. It could set up a whole nother version of the Judgment Day, which like a lot of people make jokes about it because of the Edge thing as well. But if anything, it's impressive, right? Yeah. Because you had the version that was led by Edge. Now you have the version that's led by Priest and Rhea. At this point, that will be a version led by maybe Finn and Liv. Because if Finn, screws over Priest and takes his crew, Dom screws over Rhea. Now you got Priest and Rhea going against the new version of the Judgment Day. And if anything, that just shows how much this story has evolved. I think that's impressive. Yeah. And I think those two could lead a new version of the Judgment Day. Easily.
I agree, man.
Liv's going to win here.
Liv retains, yep.
U.S. title, Logan Paul, LA Knight. Can LA Knight afford another loss?
He's got to win here, dude. He has to win here.
He has to. Logan Paul's in his hometown. The fact that they're giving Logan Paul a homecoming segment on SmackDown, that tells me he's losing at SummerSlam.
He has to. I feel like every opportunity LA Knight has had, it's always him coming up short.
Yes, especially on big shows.
Yeah,
right.
So
like,
you
it's
have to change it. You have
shows.
to change it. Logan Paul has done really well being the U.S. champion, but LA Knight needs it a lot more.
LA Knight's biggest moment, as great as he is as a character, and this isn't a knock on him, is winning the Slim Jim Battle Royal here in Detroit at SummerSlam.
Yes, unfortunately, that is his biggest moment. And the crowd popped. It was great. It was awesome, but you get lifetime supply.
The dude was held off WrestleMania when he was red hot, and it was in LA.
Yeah. LA Knight was not at the LA WrestleMania.
Come on. Right? And
maybe he should have won a Battle Royal trophy and got to come out and hold it up in the air.
Right? So you fast forward to all the title matches, he's been in both Money in the Bank ladder matches since. Neither one did he win. He lost to Roman. He's lost title opportunities or shots at the title.
Chamber.
Royal Rumble. There's so many. He was in a fatal 4-way at the Rumble. There's so many.
I get worried that we're going to go down the route that we did some years back with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Where everybody is like, this is the guy. This is the time. Let's do it. And then they just kind of, sort of, but they don't. If
LA Knight doesn't win here, fans are going to be like, and nothing against him, they're going to check out because they're going to say, clearly they don't see it.
Yeah, so why should we care?
LA Knight has to win here.
Has to. I'm predicting a win by him.
IC title, Sami Zayn, Bron Breakker. Do you feel like Ilya Dragunov should have been involved in this for a triple threat?
I think so, because you don't want to just... I don't like the importance of his character being relegated just to what happens on Monday nights.
Right.
Either he's going to be a big deal and be involved or he's not.
Yeah, I think he's obviously had amazing matches already. They put him in the main event with Sami Zayn. The story's there. The history's there with Bron Breakker. I thought Breakker should have won at Money in the Bank. I don't think it makes a lot of sense that he lost clean and then he ends up right back in a one-on-one match at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I know he earned it, but I think the perfect route was to have Breakker and Ilya beat the hell out of each other that they can't finish the match.
Yeah.
And Pierce is like, that was such a great match. You guys are both in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. You both earned it. Yeah.
And then just for the sake of it being a big show, a triple threat of Sami, Bron, and Ilya, man, that would have been off the charts, for SummerSlam. I said it for Money in the Bank. I'm going to say it again. Breakker has to win here.
That's my
especially because it is a one-on-one.
That's my pick. And he lost clean, so. Yeah.
Breakker loses a lot of steam if he loses for a second straight PLA.
Yeah. You can't you can't keep presenting him to me as, what did Pat call him? A brick shit house?
Yeah, brick shit house on cable television.
So if you're going to call him that, we're going to run with that. Put a title on this guy.
Yeah, I think Breakker needs to win here also for Sami Zayn's path to the Bloodline story. Because I don't think he does not need to be holding a title when he gets back into that. And I think he does end up back into that. So
Yeah, I agree.
Bayley, Nia Jax, how much of a chance do we see Tiffany Stratton and maybe a cash-in attempt? Nia's already kind of looking at her funny. Yeah. Bayley destroyed the briefcase. Do we have an attempt here?
Do we have an attempt? We could. So do we have an attempt? Now, see, the question is, if Nia wins, do we have that attempt? That's what
Right.
And it's like, but does she let Nia do the dirty work, take her out, and then cash in? There's a lot of avenues you can go here.
Sure.
I think it's SummerSlam. It's a big show. I think we're going to see an attempt to cash in.
I really, and I mean this for both men's and women's for the last few years, I want a Money in the Bank winner to just casually hold that damn briefcase for a minute. Stop reminding me that you have it every week. Stop attempting. Stop talking about how you're going to be watching. Stop talking about how you're going to try to cash in here, there. Stop having the announcers over push it. What made the Money in the Bank cash-ins great in the past, where they would win it, and they would casually carry it with them for months.
They would win it and they shut up about it.
Yes. They would just have it with them for months. RVD, like, they would design it, it'd be cool, whatever, but they would just have it. And then out of the blue,
RVD called it. He did call it. He said when he was going to cash it in.
He did call it.
It
I'm
made
saying
a lot of sense.
They would, you know, Edge made it a rated R thing, like, but they wouldn't like constantly remind us, hey, I got this. Hey, I'm watching that title match tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to be at SummerSlam. Stop reminding me. Just like wrestling, we're so simple, right? If you don't remind me, I'll fucking forget you have it.
We're so simple, he says.
We are, because guess what?
This?
If Tiffany Stratton,
simple-minded people.
If Tiffany Stratton doesn't mention that she has that briefcase for 6 months, and then her music hits after a women's title match, we're gonna lose our fucking minds because we're gonna be like, "Oh, wait, that's right, she's got it."
Would you rather that the winner does not carry it around with them?
It's okay if they carry it around with them. That's fine.
Doesn't that serve as a reminder?
It does, but again, wrestling fans are simple. If you don't have the announcers constantly pushing that she might cash in, right? Like, she's probably watching that title match. And it's not even just the announcers. It's literally like you have Nia constantly like, hey, you're going to cash in on me, whatever. Yeah. And then she's going to Bayley, like, by the way, and Bayley's destroying it. Like, you know, and Priest every other week was like, I'm cashing in here or there.
Money in the Bank, yeah.
It's like, yo, just hold the damn thing and let it be, because that was the whole point of Money in the Bank. I'm going to surprise you. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it. I'm going to surprise you. Yeah. So there should be no even attempt here, but I think Nia wins. And I think she ends up cashing in on Nia after Nia holds it for a few months.
Okay, so you're not calling an attempt at SummerSlam?
No, not even an attempt at SummerSlam, but Nia wins.
Not even a tease of an attempt?
Nope. I don't want it.
I think we at least get that.
I don't want it.
Okay. We shall see.
I want to forget she has it. Okay. I want to forget she has that damn thing.
We will see how that goes. I think we'll at least get a tease of an attempt.
Does Nia win or is Bayley retaining?
I think Nia wins.
Nia has to win for that story. They're partners.
Yeah.
That look would just be cool. One's a champion, one's the... There's your story right there. You don't have to remind me.
Yeah.
Have them come out together, both holding their things.
Yep.
Great. Love it. Love it. Let's go to AEW Blood and Guts. Happened in Nashville. And we had a win for Team AEW. Yes. But we also... The route we got there was also adding a TNT title match for All In, Darby Allin and Jack Perry.
Yes.
A lot of stunts, as we expect. Anthony Bowens went through a bunch of tables. Jack Perry nearly got set on fire again.
Shout out to the Acclaimed.
The Acclaimed.
Proving their worth in that match.
Oh, yeah, totally. Max Caster got thumbtacks in his mouth.
Give him a shot.
How'd you feel about this Blood and Guts?
I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed Swerve having his whole moment. I called it his John Wick moment when they were stapling. He goes back out laughing and just like it was. Well, first he's handcuffed on the outside, couldn't get in. Yes, which was awkward for the longest time because the camera's panning around. He's just kind of chilling there.
Yeah,
but it was
broke. I think. Yeah,
from all the stuff we saw, you know, Bowens going to the table, the attempted murder at the end in order to get the win. I just really thought the match was great. I liked it. It's nothing that we haven't seen before. In hardcore matches, war game matches, whatever. Yes. We've seen everything they've done in some fashion or another. But for just on a weekly cable show, right? I thought it was good.
Sure. I appreciated the storytelling for the most part here. I think AEW, what ruins what they're doing in that match is the amount of times that they do it on TV weekly. I'm seeing someone bleed every other week. I'm seeing people in barbed wire once a month, it feels like. The staple thing has been done over and over again. And what ruins that for me is people are doing that don't do that.
Right.
Like Darby Allin makes sense. Darby Allin is insane. We know that about him. In the past, the people that would do that, the Mick Foleys of the world, yeah, we know he's a hardcore, crazy, everyone that came from ECW, we expect that from them. But when you have Anthony Bowens, Max, the Young Bucks, Max Caster, doing these insane, crazy thumbtacks in the mouth, stapling you here and there, I'm like,
It's the nature of the match. I'm going to tell you something. So I think it was 2000. I think my year is wrong. 2003, 2004. Randy Orton and Mick Foley.
Sure.
Okay. Prior to their hardcore match, did you ever think of Randy Orton as a wrestler that would get in there and be thumbtacks?
But he's in the ring with Mick Foley.
Right. The Acclaimed are in the ring with who?
The Young Bucks?
And who else?
Darby?
In what kind of match?
Blood and Guts.
Okay, so why would they then not have to adapt?
I understand that, but again...
Now, if you're telling me just a regular old tag team match with the Acclaimed on Dynamite, and then Bowens or Caster bust out the baseball bat with barbed wire, but whoa, what's happening here?
Well, that's the problem, because once a month, not them specifically, we see that on AEW TV.
That I will agree with. Now, if we're talking about this match just as an isolated incident, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But to your point, if you're saying, it was good, but I see this 2 to 3 times a month, then yeah, you're right. AEW tends to go to that well one time too often.
Right. I mean, and here's the thing. We have that, and then you also, it feels like a cardboard cutout that they just copy every week when it comes. They have their Stadium Stampede, and then they have their Blood and Guts, and they have these Battle Royals to automatically give us
the blank.
And it's just fill in the blank, and we're doing the same thing every damn year. And it felt like, okay, Blood and Guts in the past, when you had like the Blackpool Combat Club and Moxley involved, like, yeah, that's what they do, right? That makes sense. This Blood and Guts was more story driven, right? This Blood and Guts was the crazy bosses and Team AEW. They wanted Swerve on their team. Adam Page is back. I wish there was more storytelling within the match rather than just do this stunt, do that stunt.
You don't feel there was a story
here? So the biggest story that was told,
okay,
once again, and this is the other big critique I have. Overall, the match was enjoyable. I agree with that. It's just the amount of time we see this shit from AEW when it comes to the crazy stunts. You have your world champion in the match.
Right.
Why is the focus on Darby Allin and Jack Perry? Once again, your world champion is outshined by a lesser story. He's not even involved in the finish. The whole point of the finish is to give Darby a TNT mid-card title match against Jack Perry.
Fair. I will concede to that. But as far as Swerve goes, we did have story continuity in there with him. There is a level of animosity and rivalry that we didn't know was going to exist with him and Hangman Page.
Sure.
Page coming out and Swerve being like, it's still there. It's still palatable. It's still combusted. So it's like it's like, yeah, we've seen their matches. They went through all, but we could see it again with a title on the line, and it would still be just as entertaining.
Are you worried or not worried? But do you think Adam Page gets added to this All In match? Because Swerve and Danielson have not even been in the same room with each other.
I mean, they got to get on that quick. Because it feels like they're just going to be like, oh, we'll just show up and see each other there.
Danielson's doing more. Yeah, by the way, you'll be in London? I'll see you there.
I mean, we have a match.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you show up. Yeah. You know, I mean, Danielson's doing more with Jeff Jarrett than he is with Swerve. And no offense to Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett's having a whole resurgence here.
Come on. Like, what are we doing? So, like, yeah, Swerve and Adam Page have had an amazing trilogy thus far. Their story's been awesome.
Yeah.
But when the ending of Dynamite, the ending of this match, the whole finish is to give Darby a match.
It did feel anticlimactic.
This story has been bigger, and the whole finish was, okay, you can have your title match. Like, that's all you're going to set this guy on fire because you want a fucking title match?
Exactly. Did they focus on that because they wanted to do the set on fire prop? Like, we're going to end it in this big dramatic fashion, which, cool, fine. It would be better if that was for the world title.
Right.
And it was Swerve and Page or something. Yes. Then I'd be like, okay, well, this is really sick.
If anything, you could have had the exact same spot, flip the roles, and have Adam Page force Swerve to add him to the world title match.
Well, not only
for the same thing. And that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, but not only that, what we'll probably touch on briefly later, what else they did with Darby.
Yes, by the way, this is getting like, everything.
So because that came after, I'm like, whoa, what the fuck was that then?
Right.
On Blood and Guts, and now we're doing, why didn't we just do this?
Yep. We'll jump to that in a second. First, do you feel like the concept of Blood and Guts is starting to kind of run its course and maybe they should take a break of it?
Yes, I think they should. The way that WWE has gotten away from we have to do a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. We have to do.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Right.
Do it when it makes, so my thing with this recent Blood and Guts match is, to me, it did make sense. The participants involved and being involved in that match, it made sense because of the stories being told.
Yeah.
Say what you will about the ending and who was involved in the ending. Okay. Mm-hmm. But to say every year we got a Blood and Guts coming up, you don't have to.
No.
If it makes sense because there's a lot of volatile stories going on, you can do it. It's like a Hell in a Cell. Do we really have to put these people in Hell in a Cell?
Right. I agree with that. And the fact that this Blood and Guts should have been more story driven to me. And when I say that, I think about the last War Games with the Bloodline.
Okay.
You had a table spot. right? You had some, stunts here and there.
Yeah.
Nothing insane, but enough to remind us, hey, we're in a double ring cage, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Pat McAfee in NXT with Adam Cole, like, he jumped off the top of the cage.
Yeah.
Like, there were stunts, but it was more telling the story of the bloodline and Sami Zayn's allegiance with Kevin Owens and all of that, right? That is the whole concept that they should have followed when it comes to telling the story of Team AEW against their bosses, swerving Adam Page's history, Adam Page going back to the Elite because, remember, he's still not 100% like loyal to them. Right? So you could have told that whole story and said, fuck putting thumbtacks in Caster's mouth. Why is Bowens going off the cage? Yeah, right. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but the Bowens spot was pretty cool.
It was cool.
It was cool to me because it's not something, again, you don't look at Anthony Bowens and expect him to do that.
Right. Shout out to him, by all means. All the risks these guys take.
He was all in on that match.
That was good.
You see what I did?
That was good.
That was kind of cool.
Not bad.
I like that for me.
Let's get through a few more things before we get out of here, including what we kind of referenced. Darby Allin went on to win Royal Rampage and gets a world title shot at all the way in September, by the way, at Grand Slam.
So
he gets a TNT title match at All In and gets a world title match on Rampage. What the are we doing?
It really left me just like
right?
Huh?
Right.
Didn't he just do the thing and the setting on what was it? Now he did now
the final two made no sense. I'm like, him or Claudio? No and no. What are we doing?
Like, why either of them?
First, to start off, why am I worried about what's happening in September at Grand Slam? We have All In, All Out, both happening in between. Why are we not putting All In, by the way, is their WrestleMania?
Yes.
By the way, it's not being treated that way, but it is. And you're telling me you're giving me a battle royal to determine what the hell's happening in September on a Dynamite?
It is the most like ADHD booking.
Yes.
But all the time.
Yes.
We have a pay-per-view coming up. But let's talk about the one that's going on in January.
Yeah.
Why?
And we're giving 2 title shots to the same guy, which, by the way, he's probably going to lose both.
So it leaves me like, so am I supposed to care about the Jack Perry one? Or
are you trying to tell me Darby's going to be a double champion by the end of September?
Darby 2 belts.
Darby 2 belts.
There we go.
Come on.
Coined right here on this show. By me. I give credit to me.
Over in WWE, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, they're going to get a tag title shot on the SmackDown before SummerSlam. Are you okay with the concept of them maybe taking the titles off DIY?
I'm okay with them doing it, just not this soon into DIY's title reign.
Right. I agree. 100% agree. DIY just won this thing, and my worry is there's no reason, unless there's interference, for the bloodline to lose here.
Right.
There really isn't. And I love Ciampa and I love Gargano.
Yeah.
I hope that's the route they go. Maybe there's not an official finish. Cody gets involved and it ends up with a brawl to head into SummerSlam. I'm for that. But if this is going to have a clean finish, there's no reason for the bloodline.
Paul Heyman with a chair. You son of a bitch.
Against Jacob Fatu of all people.
Right. They just, like, I know, right? Just trying to smash it over his head.
Yeah. Shout out to Tongaloa with the eye patch, by the way.
Looking like a mean pirate.
Solid look. Over in AEW, Kamille debuting in AEW as the muscle for Mercedes Mone taking out Britt Baker. Do you like this for Mercedes' character?
We could just double down on the hillishness. I don't hate it.
We've
seen it before.
Yeah.
You're the hill champ. You got the muscle. Now you're giving Britt Baker another obstacle.
Right. Mercedes is a star. We know that.
Yes.
But Mercedes is no one's top 5 in ring.
No.
And nobody's top 5 on the mic.
No. Her presence is what gets her over.
Her presence is a star.
Yes.
But when you tell me you have someone like that who, like, you look at on the other end, MJF, biggest heel, but he can go in the ring and he's phenomenal on the mic.
Yep. Oh,
right?
Yeah. Oh,
Mercedes, great star.
She can go in the ring.
But she can go.
Is she
but
your
again,
top 5
Is
performer?
she a top 5? No. Is she a top 5 promo? No. And that's exactly when you do what you did here. Give them a muscle.
Yep.
Make her look like, that scared heel that wants nothing to do with her opponents.
Being the chicken shit hill can take you very far.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the call here. Love it. WWE, some contracts not renewed. MVP Tamina on that list, but headlining that list is Bobby Lashley.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big get. Now, he could go back to TNA. He could go to AEW. wherever
he can go and relax at home. He's not young.
I would say literally, he just go kick his feet up
Yeah.
and be like a millionaire wherever he lives.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
But if he wants to stay in the wrestling business, Tony Khan's going to make a play.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he's going to have a checkbook open. What do you want?
Sure. I mean, you got to remember Ricochet's out there too, by the way.
Now, if him and MVP want to go and form their own, I don't know what
Shelton's available.
The new business.
Yeah. the new Hurt business.
I don't know, but once their contracts are completely up, which I think they are now, or most of them are, they could just sign. Yeah.
The first people I thought of was the Street Profits, man, and B-Fab. They could have had something special there. Triple H never pulled the trigger on that.
But B-Fab just like their valet now?
Yeah.
Because that's how it looked on SmackDown. Like, it was just,
and I like their vibe together.
No, I really do, but I feel like the Street Profits were tweaked with for no reason other than to help Bobby Lashley. Now he's gone, and they're just kind of floundering with B-Fab.
It's an awkward
There was
position,
no payoff there.
They're too good to be in this awkward position.
The biggest payoff was WrestleMania.
Yes.
That's it.
And this is the time when people get all pissed off. Listen, again, I've said it before. When you have the amount of great talent on the roster, great talent's going to get let go. That's how it goes, right?
It happens.
Lashley's not young. They have a lot more going on. It's nothing against Lashley. And all those people that listen to the rumors of the Motor City Machine Guns on their way to WWE, Hikuleo, I'll believe it when I see it on their screen.
That's exactly how I look at it.
When
they show up, I will believe it.
Let's also remember, no offense to reporters out there, but it was also reported Motor City Machine Guns were going to AEW like 2 months ago. Yeah. So I'll believe it when I see it on my screen in front of my eyes. Lashley deserves everything. He deserves to go home and relax. I feel for the Profits in this situation. If anything.
They got the short end here for sure.
MJF-Will Ospreay rematch at All In. MJF, the American champion.
Yeah, it's election season.
How you feel about that? How you feel about that segment and then the rematch one-on-one?
I was okay with the segment. MJF doing MJF things, saying MJF things that MJF says. Revealing the American championship. It's going to be short-lived if he loses it. But it also, to me, I'm just like, it still takes me to this place of why did he win it in the first place?
So first off, that segment was awesome. That was great booking. I will say it. And that's not said about AEW a lot. That was great booking. It is timely with all the election shit going on.
Yeah.
Right? It makes sense with MJF being a heel. Yeah. I love it. MJF ran into Kurt Angle, by the way.
Yeah.
Perfect timing. Awesome.
The planets aligned.
When it comes, this is going to be a phenomenal, fantastic, another great match. I know that. It is a lose-lose for AEW.
I was going to say, however.
Because you're either going to have MJF drop the title after a month, or Will Ospreay is going to take a second straight loss to MJF, and I think that's a lose-lose.
I would rather. So here's the thing. You're trying to book this condensed chase for Will Ospreay as the babyface.
Yeah.
Why? Because then what?
But he just had the title.
He had the title. He lost it. He gets it back. He conquers MJF. MJF comes back crying about it, wants a title shot again.
And give it back to MJF or what?
So we're going to end up, this is like Vince Russo Attitude Era booking. We're ping-ponging the title now.
Yes.
Which is stupid.
Yes.
You should have not. I love that match they had, so I don't want to say you should have not had it.
It should have happened at All In.
But because you're not going to get that match again.
Yes. That is the truth. And those two are too big of names to be involved in a ping-pong story like that.
I agree.
Nic Nemeth, shout out to him, TNA World Champion.
Yeah.
Are you surprised they gave it to him over someone like Joe Hendry, who's so over and was in the match?
Well, no, I'm not. Just because I think that they look at Nic Nemeth as a big coup, a big get for them. I think this is where they want to pay it off, and that's fine. I mean, he's a big enough name. He's a big jump over to their company. Why not pay it off? Now it is. You could say, well, the Joe Hendry thing's hot, man. Like, why don't you want to strike when that iron's hot? I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I think the successful, and this doesn't apply to LA Knight because they've done it way too long, but you have to see if it stays hot. You don't want to give Joe Hendry the title, and then a month from now we're over it.
Yeah.
Right? Now he's our world champion.
Yeah.
So now you're either forced to turn him heel, drop the title right away, or make some rash decision about him.
Yeah.
If you make someone that is that over the underdog, people have not given up on LA Knight.
Right.
LA Knight is just as hot as he was a year ago, even though we're pissed off that he keeps losing.
The fans are sticking with him because they're like, please, come on, do something.
We love this guy, and Joe Hendry's the same way. Also, Joe Hendry seems to be getting a more consistent push in NXT. I don't know what that means, but he's on there every week. They got a whole video package for him. I don't know what they're doing there, But I think that played a role as well, and Nic Nemeth 100%
He has
deserves
dual
it.
contracts.
Yeah, something. But Nic Nemeth 100% deserves it.
But you run the risk,
to
to your point, too, you run the risk of, because something is presumed to be hot, or, well, Joe Hendry, his whole run is hot right now. His character is hot right now.
Yeah.
But you could take someone like, Sami Zayn. There was a segment of the audience that wanted him to beat Gunther at WrestleMania. They got what they wanted.
Right.
I was weary of that, saying it's going to be a nice story for the event. What do you do after that?
Right.
What have they done after that?
They haven't.
His title reign seems very
It's about everyone else.
We're looking for him. Well, please, Bron Breakker, take it off of him.
Well, it will do it more for everyone else than Sami. It's putting Chad Gable over.
Yeah.
And it's putting Bron Breakker over, which is awesome.
Which is great, but
why is
he's
the champion doing it? Right.
Who beat the unbeatable guy.
Yes.
So with Joe Hendry, yes, I as much as a fan, I love the whole Joe Hendry movement going on. I'm weary of just slapping the title on him, be like, here's the guy, and then people are like, well,
yeah. 100%. Last thing, Christian Cage and his family, they're the trios champions. How do you feel about this?
Nothing brings a family together more than championship.
Especially when Christian's holding all three
titles. You know what
titles.
that just says? He's a great dad.
It's awesome. Love the guy.
I
love that. Christian deserves it. That story deserves it. I do think it should lead to a longer story of them breaking up at some point when they drop those titles.
Yes.
But I love that Christian, is holding all the titles. And then when Nick Wayne loses in the Royal Rampage, Christian's bitching at Killswitch for not being out there to help him. It's awesome.
For his favorite son.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yeah, like
How dare you don't take care of your little brother?
That segment, Christian's holding all three titles.
It's great because it's just like when, what was it, the TNT, was the TNT title? Yeah. When it was like, Killswitch won it, but Christian's like, okay, I'm walking around with a good job.
We won.
We're the champions.
It's awesome. It'll lead to something down the road.
Yeah.
It is necessary. It is great.
I love everything involved with him. Christian has just been hitting home run after home run in this
I am upset that Jay White is hurt and it can't be involved in this trio.
Yeah.
I mean, Juice Robinson and the Guns do awesome, but Jay White obviously is Jay White.
Yeah.
And that would have been awesome with Jay White and Christian sharing a ring, most likely at All In. But yeah, that title reign is going to be fun to watch.
Yes.
Roar Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's at Dude Darrell Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. Talk to you guys very soon.